Hey, book lovers. Welcome to While I Read. I'm Katie Dodrell, and today I'm starting my spring thriller reading vlog. So I'm actually kind of nervous about this because a vlog is more difficult for me to film than just one of my usual videos where I just sit here and talk to you about books. For a vlog, I actually have to film, me living my life and what I do when I'm not sitting here in this very controlled environment. But I'm excited about it. My parents are coming to get my daughter to spend the night with them tonight. So we'll have a child-free night. So I'll be able to get a lot of reading done. So I'm going to just do some filming while I read, while we go for some walks, while we just do some kind of fun outdoorsy spring things. So the books that I'm going to be talking about in this blog are Retreat by Krysten Ritter. I have an arc of that. It comes out March 25th. Then I'm also going to read Count My Lies by Sophie Stava. I'm really excited to get started reading them and get started telling you about them. So the first book that I'm going to read is Retreat by Krysten Ritter. So this book is about a con artist named Liz who gets hired by this wealthy woman named Isabel to install a piece of art in Isabel's luxurious Mexican villa. So Liz goes there and she gets to stay in this villa and, make herself at home in these beautiful, lush surroundings. But she gets mistaken for Isabel. And being the con artist she is, Liz just can't help but play along with it. And then she apparently finds out that Isabel has maybe some dangerous things going on in her life, and Liz gets involved with them. So this seems like it's going to be a great book for spring. I think the villa is on the beach in like a resort area. So I'm looking forward to reading that. So what I have planned for the rest of the day, my parents are going to come and get my daughter and she's going to spend the night with them. And so I'm going to get a lot of reading done tonight. I'm really excited about that. It's funny that, the most exciting thing, the best thing I can think of to do when I have a child-free night is to spend time reading. But that's what we'll do. My husband will probably read a book too, and we'll just sit around and read. So I'm looking forward to getting started and to you coming along with me. Hey everybody, I'm back. So I was able to get a lot of reading done yesterday afternoon, and last night I stayed up really late reading Retreat by Krysten Ritter, and I finished it this morning. So as you can probably guess from the fact that I read it so quickly, I really enjoyed this book. So I loved the descriptions of the Mexican villa and this beautiful resort where it was located. It was just perfect for this time of year because there's scenes of them hanging out at the beach and hanging out at the pool and going to rich people parties. So that's really cool. So I think the descriptions were my favorite part of it. And then the character of Liz, so she's the main character. She is a con artist, and she's a really interesting character. And I guess I could sympathize with Liz. I didn't necessarily like Liz that much because she is somebody who is, trying to trick people out of their money, basically. And so she wasn't exactly a likable character to me, but she was a really interesting character to me. So Liz goes to this villa and she is impersonating, well, at first she's just there to install the art for Isabel, but then when she gets mistaken for her, she decides to impersonate Isabel. And so There are descriptions of her, going to parties where so basically a lot of people have not met Isabel yet. They just know that there's this beautiful woman who is living in this villa. And so Liz is just pretending to be Isabel. And then there are some people who actually have met Isabel. And so Liz, has to kind of think, are they really going to believe that I'm her? And then there are times when you're like, do these people really believe that Liz is Isabel, or are they just pretending? So as the reader, you don't know that, and Liz herself doesn't know that. And so she does start finding out that there are some shady things going on at this resort. There is lots of rich people drama, which can be fun to read about. So I really found this to be a good book. I found it very compelling, very exciting. Like I said, the descriptions of this villa were great. It's perfect to read at this time of year as we're starting to get warmer weather. And even though I can't actually go somewhere with a beach and swim in a pool, I can at least read about people doing it. So I gave this book 4 stars. It was just so fast paced and so beautifully descriptive, and I loved that. Wasn't quite a 5-star thriller, mainly because, as I said, I just didn't love Liz, and I tend to like books better if I have a main character who I can really identify and sympathize with. That's just kind of a personal preference for me. So that's why it didn't get 5 stars, but it was a really good book, really compelling. I definitely recommend that you try Retreat. So the next book that I'm going to read for this vlog is Count My Lies by Sophie Stava. So this book is about a woman named Sloane Caraway, who is a compulsive liar. She basically just lies to make her life a little more interesting. So she sees this little girl crying in the park, and she helps the girl's dad get a bee stinger out of the girl's finger. And then, just for no real reason, she lies to the dad and she says that she's a nurse. And so Sloane ends up getting hired to be the nanny for this family. So it's a husband and wife, and they have a little girl. She's in private school. They're very rich. And so Sloane gets drawn into their lives. And so she finds out that maybe she's not the only one lying, and that maybe their life is not quite as picture perfect as it seems. So I'm looking forward to starting to read this book. I do have a lot of other things planned for today, so we're going to my parents' house to spend the night with them and pick up my daughter. They live on a farm. They have pigs. They have 1 cow right now. And we'll probably go for some walks. We'll probably ride around on the golf cart. We may feed the pigs. There's really no telling what we'll do. There are always adventures at the farm. See you soon, vlog.
watermelon and cantaloupe and squash plants that I've got started in these little mini greenhouses I made from these clear plastic containers. And I have to keep them watered good. Come over here and just stick to the plant. And I water them good. And I put the top back on them. All right, this is the garden. This is a big garden patch. There's about a ½ acre in this patch. And I've got it harrowed up. I need to plow it up and start planting corn. I'll start planting sweet corn next week if it doesn't get too wet. And I'm gonna plant watermelons and cantaloupes and peas and tomatoes and peppers and maybe an eggplant or two. The fence that you see with the streamers off of it and the white tape on it to keep the deer out. Now I have to prop that back up to about 10 feet off the ground to keep the deer from eating everything in the garden up, because they'll get in here and literally eat most of it down to the ground in a week if I can't keep them out. And I'll use drip irrigation, irrigate the garden. We'll do a blog on that later on about me installing a drip irrigation system in the garden. All right, there's Miss Kate opening the gate. That's been her main job for a few years, is opening and closing the gates for me. But I have to check behind her to make sure she's closed them right, because if the animals get out, I'm the one that has to chase them.
Hey, donks.
They're Jesus donkeys because they got a cross on their back. Got a soft nose too. Let's go see old number one. I hope old number one is gonna have a calf. She looks like she is, don't she?
Hey, number one.
Here's our hill right here. This is one of our favorite things to do. Is to go down the hill fast and almost run over the bar element down here. You ready, Sarah? Here we go.
Woo-hoo! No! Hey everybody. So we've been having a great relaxing weekend. Yesterday was a beautiful sunshiny day and we were outside the whole time and it was so much fun. My dad is working on his garden that he plants every spring and he kind of took over the vlog a little bit, which was fun. So I am about 40, maybe 45% done with Count My Lies by Sophie Stava. So I'm enjoying it so far. Like I'm compelled to read it. It's not going to be my favorite book I've ever read. So it's about the woman, Sloane, who is a liar. Like she admits from the beginning of the book that she likes to make things up. So far, we haven't really found out anything like super traumatic in her past or anything like that that causes her to behave this way. So it's kind of hard to sympathize with her because you're kind of like, well, why don't you just tell the truth? Because she just makes up lies constantly. In most cases, it makes her life a little harder because, you know, she has to try to remember what lies she's told and make sure she doesn't say something that, goes against the lie. And also eventually she gets caught and, people don't like her. Like, she's had several experiences in her past that have, caused that to happen. So she is working as a nail technician, but she meets this family, a dad named Jay and a mom named Violet, and their little girl's name is escaping me. Harper. The little girl is Harper. And so she meets Jay and Harper in the park and tells Jay that she's a nurse, even though that's not true. And she helps to get a bee sting out of Harper's foot. So then she ends up just sort of insinuating herself into the family. She kind of has a crush on Jay, but then she meets Violet, and in a weird way, it's like she sort of has a friend crush on Violet, like she wants to be best friends with Violet. And so very quickly, she ends up becoming the nanny for Harper. And so, I can't help thinking about my own life, my own family. Like, what if some crazy woman ended up being part of our lives? So I'm very worried for this family, like what's going to happen. So far, it doesn't seem like Sloane has any, ill wishes toward the family. Like, she loves them, but I feel like things could go badly wrong. And we know that something in her past has gone badly wrong based on her lies. We know from the synopsis of the book that the family, Violet and Jay, may have some secrets of their own. So I'm wondering if maybe, they're keeping something from her, and I am kind of wondering how she's managed to just become such a big part of their lives, if it really is that they, are totally believing all of her stories, or if maybe there's some other reason for them welcoming her into their lives as much as they have. So I'm looking forward to continuing to read the book. Today it's super cold and rainy outside, so we won't be able to get outside as much as we were yesterday. So I'm planning on spending a lot of time reading the book, and I'll probably be done by the time I update you again. Hey y'all, I'm back with an update on Count My Lies by Sophie Stava. So I finished reading that yesterday afternoon. It was a rainy afternoon, so I just had kind of a cozy afternoon reading while my daughter and my husband played. So that was nice. So I ended up giving the book 3 stars. It was good. To me, it wasn't quite as good as Retreat, the first book I read for this vlog, which got 4 stars. It's kind of funny because I didn't really realize this when I was planning this vlog, but Retreat and Count My Lies have a little bit of a similar premise. In Retreat, the main character is a con artist who lies to people basically to get money or, to get to stay in their beautiful villas. In Count My Lies, the main character she lies. She's not really trying to get money. She's just lying to sort of make her life more interesting. They're very different characters, but it does have that in common. And there are some other things that are similar about the 2 books, and also some things that are different. And I can't really say too much about the similarities and differences without spoiling the books. So with Count My Lies, we had our main character, Sloane, who was pretending to be a nurse, and ended up being the nanny for this little girl and became part of this family. And they end up going on a summer vacation trip to Block Island. I really enjoyed the scenes that took place there. They were just really fun and beachy, and it talked about the smell of sunscreen and saltwater taffy and made me feel like I was at the beach, although of course there was always this underlying sense of menace. We know that something bad is going to happen eventually. We do get a different POV character in the second half of the book, and I'm not going to tell you who it is, but we do get a different one, and then we get another different POV character before the book ends, but I can't really tell you too much about it. So I will say that I had figured out a little bit about what was going to happen, and I did kind of guess right about how the book ended up ultimately wrapping up, but there were definitely some surprises for me. So overall, I liked the way that the book wrapped things up. You know, I was wondering how the book would do it because I felt like there were two ways that it could go about doing it. You know, Sloane could either get kind of a redemption arc where we see, okay, she lies sometimes, but she's ultimately not a bad person. Or she could just kind of keep going down that bad arc of, you know, I'm getting worse and worse. So I'm not going to tell you which it was, but I did like the way it ended up. I didn't necessarily feel like it was definitely not realistic. Like I didn't feel like any of this could happen in real life, but it was entertaining to read about. It was a little difficult. Maybe the reason that I gave this one 3 stars rather than 4 was because in this one, there was a child involved, a little girl. And so throughout, I kept worrying that something bad was going to happen to the little girl, which bothers me because I have a little girl about the same age as the character in this book. Whenever there are children in books now, it just really bothers me more than it did before I had Sarah. And so in The Retreat, there were no children involved, and so I didn't have to worry about that aspect of it. So a lot of the reasons why I, like or dislike books are personal preferences that other people may find completely different. In this book, Count My Lies, I also struggled to really like any of the characters, and so that also affected my overall feelings for it. But it was a good book. I read it in just like 3 days. I kept wanting to pick it up. I kept wanting to find out what happened. So it was definitely a compelling read. All right, everybody, I'm back one last time because I realized that I didn't really close the vlog out. So thanks for coming along with me as I read these books and hung out with my family. Sarah's coming to say bye to everybody too. We had a good time, didn't we, Sarah?
Yes.
If you like this video and you want more book recommendations and reviews, please subscribe to my channel. Now, go feed the pigs while we read.